So I want to talk now about how extra audio works in the app and some of the potential design challenges that exist around that. The goal for each of these walks is to have the default experience be a kind of podcast-like experience with audio playing relatively continuously throughout the walk. And this was some feedback that came from users who wanted a more immersive experience. So not just having the planets, the bare kind of alerts read aloud to them as they walk. So what we've done is, in addition to those short alerts, as you may have noticed on your walk, we've got extra audio and extra content that we've recorded for each one of these planets. And so let me just explain kind of how that works. If the user wants to trigger the extra content manually, they can press on this button here.
Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system
And
on a one-push
here
of any planet.
Mercury.
With
But we didn't want to have the user go through the trouble during the walk to have to open up the app and actually go in and press this button manually. And so what we've done in implementation is to kind of play it automatically when the gap is big enough between two planets. And so right now we've got that set at about 30 meters or more. So when two events are more than 30 meters apart, then this button will just basically be on by default when the user goes into the app. And I'll just quickly show you how that works on the CMS. On the CMS, you can kind of see under the audio tab for one of the events, this section down here, extra audio long gaps. This gives you roughly an estimate of how long you have to record extra audio. So you can see here between Saturn and the next planet here, Uranus, up here it's saying that I've got about 325 meters. And I've got, telling me kind of like that roughly takes 4 minutes and 3 seconds to cover. The content, the audio duration just for the event announcement is 13 seconds. So I've got about 3 minutes and 50 seconds that I can use to take up that space if I want, or I can leave some of that blank. So that's how that implementation works currently. So there's 3 questions here that we're trying to think through. One is when the events are too close together to have this extra audio play, but an event still has extra audio. So that's the case with these first 4 planets that are so close together that you may have even missed the fact that they do have this extra audio. How do we alert users to the fact that it's there? Is it enough to throw up a dialogue? Should we mention it in the actual audio to say, hey, look, this event's got some more audio. You can stop and press this button to listen. So that's the first question. The second question is whether or not it's triggered automatically. That is, whether or not the events are close together or far apart. When you do press this button, the script that is read is the same as is written out in this slideshow. But the slides don't advance automatically. There's instructions that we throw up that you might have seen that instruct the user that, hey, if you want to follow along, you have to press the left and right sides of the slide. Now, that's good in a way because the users can kind of read ahead or stop the audio and read this at their leisure. But it also is very different from the way the introduction to the walk is done, where you've got discrete audio segments that play continuously one after the other. And you can imagine that this might work the same way, kind of like an Instagram story where you're tapping on the left and right sides, the audio is playing along, and you're actually skipping ahead or back, exactly in the same way that you do on Instagram. So that's the second question. And just to quickly show you, that has some implications on how this is set up on the CMS, because right now the extra audio is just one continuous file, and the slides here are, as I think I've shown you, like here, they're just separate slides that can be adjusted. And so we'd have to make some adjustments on this side if we were to implement it in that kind of Instagram style. So that's the second question. The third question is, well, what happens if the user doesn't want to listen to all this extra narration? And what happens if they just want these basic event announcements? Well, we've got that option hidden here right now in this alerts only switch. You tap on the help icon there, it tells you what's going to happen. But we wonder whether this is too hidden away, whether or not the user should have the option right at the front, kind of right from, if I leave this page here, to have an option between a casual version, that just reads you the announcements, and maybe a more involved learning version where it is kind of like a podcast narrated all the way through. Or whether that would just add too much complexity on this screen and the user's already kind of overwhelmed enough here. So those are the three questions we have around extra audio.